We all know, like, the exact mechanism for checking our bank account balance, right?
Yeah,
Pull out
yeah.
your phone, tap an app, scan your face, and a number just appears.
Right, and it tells you exactly where you stand.
Exactly. That single number tells you entirely where you stand financially in the world. But, I mean, what if you could run that exact same diagnostic on your soul?
That would be a terrifying audit for some people, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. But that is exactly what we're getting into today. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're centering on a highly specific, literally calculable ledger for your spiritual wealth.
Yeah, we are unpacking a really fascinating 2009 text by an author named Su Feng. It's titled Heavenly Treasures and How to Calculate. And it was actually written as a response to questions raised by someone referred to as Wan Min Celestial.
And our mission for this deep dive is to explore this entire framework because it categorizes like the energy of the entire universe, tracks your energetic deposits and withdrawals, and ultimately calculates if you've earned your ticket into what the text calls a utopian paradise.
Which is wild, because it's a framework that attempts to quantify the completely unquantifiable. I mean, Shufeng isn't just speaking in vague metaphors about, being a quote-unquote good person.
Right, there's no vague karma here.
No, not at all. He provides this highly structural, almost mathematical approach to spiritual destiny. He argues that every single action you take is a measurable transaction.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Mhm.
Because what hooked me immediately when looking at the sources is what actually counts on this ledger. Things like chemistry and dancing are literally factored into this spiritual economy, and we're going to figure out how.
Yeah, the criteria are definitely unexpected.
But before we get to the math, we really have to understand the currency. I mean, if we are tracking heavenly treasures, what are we actually measuring?
So to understand the currency, we have to kind of zoom out and look at the cosmology of this text first. Xu Feng introduces what he calls a universal key to unlock all mysteries.
A universal key. Okay, I love a bold claim.
It really is. And this key consists of three interacting elements. You've got consciousness, structure, and energy. And you really can't understand the treasures without understanding how these three forces build the universe.
So break down the mechanics of that for me. How do consciousness, structure, and energy actually interact with each other?
Think of it like building a physical house, right? Consciousness is the architect's blueprint. It's the intention, the non-physical design, the pure information of what the house should eventually be.
Okay, so it's the idea of the house.
Exactly. Then energy is the raw material. It's the lumber, the nails, the physical labor required to actually move those materials around. The text essentially defines energy as the capacity to form non-material structures and sustain the operation of life and matter.
Got it. And then structure is the final product.
You nailed it. Structure is the completed house itself. You need the blueprint to direct those raw materials into a final form. And in this text, absolutely everything in existence operates on this mechanism.
Wait, everything, like emotions too.
Everything. Tangible objects, human emotions, totally abstract concepts. They are all just different forms of energy guided by consciousness.
Which means, I guess, we need to categorize those raw materials. And the text breaks all of this energy down into three really distinct tiers, right?
Yes, three tiers: material energy, spiritual energy, and soul energy.
Let's look at the baseline first. Material energy seems to essentially cover the hard sciences.
Yeah, it covers the physical and kinetic world, light, wind, electricity, heat. But the text gets remarkably specific here.
Like how specific?
Like, it includes things like proteins and biochemical reactions. It explicitly mentions the nutrition found in food as material energy.
Okay, so if a force physically moves matter or like biologically sustains an organism, it operates as material energy. It's just the baseline fuel of the physical universe.
Exactly. It's the bottom tier. Then we step up to the second tier, which is spiritual energy.
And the terminology here is where the text completely subverts our expectations.
It really does flip the script.
Because normally when we talk about spirituality, we're talking about enlightenment, meditation, connecting with the divine. But this text categorizes heavily worldly elements as spiritual energy.
Yeah, it lists knowledge, experience, and skills in this tier. But it also throws in wealth, reputation, status, and power.
Which is crazy to me. And even familial love and friendship are placed in this middle tier.
Right, because the word spiritual in this very specific framework denotes the intangible dynamics and organizational structures of human society. It is potential energy, but it's entirely earthbound.
So like your reputation or your bank account are powerful forms of energy.
Extremely powerful. They can move mountains, they alter human behavior, but they are deeply tethered to the human experience. They're just constructs we invented to manage our physical existence.
Which brings us to the highest level, the absolute top-tier soul energy.
Yep.
This includes faith in the greatest creator, in gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings. It includes the yearning for a bright future, wisdom, truth, kindness, and love. But the text also explicitly categorizes artistic and emotional expression here, right?
Yeah, music, dance, poetry, artistic beauty, and even genuine romantic and sexual affection are all classified up in soul energy.
This is where the framework pivots so hard away from conventional theology for me. It places pure human expression and creation at the absolute apex of the energetic hierarchy.
It really does.
But wait, I struggle with this distinction. If you, as a listener, spend 20 years grinding to build a business so you can feed your family and create stability, that is categorized as middle-tier spiritual energy.
Correct.
But if you go out dancing on a Friday night, or, fall romantically in love, you are suddenly tapping into the highest tier of soul energy. That feels entirely counterintuitive.
I can see why it feels that way, yeah.
Because in almost every major tradition, wealth and romance are both viewed equally as earthly distractions from the divine. Why does this text elevate a dance over a lifetime of providing for a family?
It really comes down to the origin of the blueprint we talked about earlier. Building a business, accumulating wealth, even fulfilling familial duties, those are necessary mechanisms for survival.
Right, you need them to live.
Yeah. They're complex structures, sure, but they're reactions to the problem of living on Earth. They are survival strategies.
Okay, I'm following.
But a dance, a piece of music, a moment of profound romantic affection, those are not survival strategies. They are completely unnecessary for basic biological continuation. Therefore, the text views them as acts of pure creation.
Oh, wow. So when you create art or connect deeply with another person, you aren't just managing earthly resources.
Exactly. You are echoing the fundamental, infinite nature of the universe itself. You are manifesting divine consciousness into reality.
To put that into a mechanism we interact with every day, it's almost like the architecture of a massive multiplayer video game.
Okay, let's hear it.
Material energy is the hardware. It's the physical console, the electricity from the wall, the cooling fan keeping the system from crashing.
Right, the stuff that makes it run.
Yeah. And then spiritual energy is your in-game status. The gold you farmed, the rank of your guild, the armor you bought. It feels incredibly important while you were logged in, but the second the servers shut down, it just ceases to exist.
That's a great way to look at it.
And soul energy is the actual skill, the memory, and the experience of the player sitting on the couch. It's the only thing that exists independently of the simulation.
That captures the structural hierarchy perfectly. I mean, the in-game gold holds zero purchasing power in the physical world.
And that leads directly to the core rule of this entire ledger. Because if we're trying to calculate our heavenly treasures, the text is unequivocal about this. Material and spiritual energies hold a currency exchange rate of absolute zero.
They do not transfer at all. If you want to accumulate heavenly treasure, you have to generate soul energy. Your earthly status, your academic degrees, your physical strength, literally none of that is factored into the final audit.
So how do we actually make deposits into this account? Because the text provides a concrete list of actions that mint this spiritual coin.
It does. Revering God, revering life, revering nature, and walking in the way of God are listed as the primary deposits.
But what I find fascinating is the lack of a theological monopoly here. It doesn't restrict this reverence to one specific gatekeeper,
Right. The inclusivity is structurally significant. The text states that praising a really wide pantheon accumulates treasure in heaven. It specifically lists God, Jesus Christ, the Buddha Shakyamuni, the immortal Laozi, the Prophet Muhammad, and the sages of human history.
It places Shakyamuni and Muhammad on the exact same energetic pier. It's completely bypassing centuries of theological hierarchy.
Because in this framework, the specific historical figure is less important than the frequency of the energy they represent. Recognizing and aligning with that high-frequency wisdom, regardless of the cultural packaging it arrived in, that's what generates the required soul energy.
The reverence itself is the mechanism of the deposit.
Exactly.
But the deposits aren't just internal reverence. They are highly interpersonal, too. The text explicitly states that giving people confidence, dispelling their anxiety, fear, and worry, and helping them look toward a beautiful future is a direct deposit.
Yes, very much so.
Think about the implications of that for a second. If you, the listener, pull over on your commute right now to text a friend and calm them down about a stressful job interview, you aren't just practicing good social etiquette. According to this text, you're executing a high-level cosmic transaction.
Let's officially look at the mechanism of why that works energetically. Anxiety and fear are restrictive energies. When a person is terrified, their consciousness narrows, their physical structure tenses up, and their energetic output plummets.
They shrink.
Yeah, they are trapped in a low-frequency state. So when you step in and dispel that anxiety, you are actively altering their energetic structure. You're expanding their capacity to interact with the universe.
And that expansion is the treasure.
Exactly. Facilitating that shift from restriction to expansion generates a massive surge of soul energy, which is banked directly into your heavenly account.
And the text follows that logic straight into the arts, right? Stating that fully displaying one's artistic beauty is accumulating treasure.
It treats art as essential.
Which means painting a canvas, writing a poem, performing a song. You are taking pure, intangible consciousness and forcing it into a physical structure that can elevate others. You are literally minting spiritual currency.
You are acting as a conduit for the universal blueprint we talked about.
Okay, but every ledger has two columns. If making art and calming friends builds your wealth, we need to look at the overdraft fee.
Oh, yes. The withdrawals.
The text outlines specific actions that actively deplete your heavenly treasures, effectively bankrupting your soul. Well, the big ones.
Well, the depletions mirror the deposits almost perfectly. Destroying nature is listed as a primary withdrawal. If revering the structure of life builds your account, actively destroying it drains your reserves immediately.
Makes sense? And the interpersonal withdrawals are just as sharp. Harboring hatred, jealousy, complaints, or making accusations against others are massive drains on your account.
Consider the mechanism of jealousy or hatred for a second. It's the exact opposite of the expansive creation we discussed with art or romance.
It's a restriction.
Exactly. Jealousy is a localized restriction of energy. It creates severe friction. Instead of allowing energy to flow and build new structures, hatred burns up the raw materials, completely destroying the surrounding environment.
Wow. So it consumes your stored soul energy just to maintain that state of internal friction.
Right. It's an energetic tax you pay just to stay angry.
The text also lists creating fear, panic, intimidation, or deception that brings pain and anxiety to others. If calming someone expands their universe, terrifying them restricts it, and you foot the bill for the damage.
You pay for the restriction you cause.
Furthermore, threatening or controlling others physically, mentally, or spiritually depletes your treasure. But I gotta say, the final withdrawal listed in the text is the one that completely disrupts traditional spiritual expectations for me.
You're talking about suppressing human nature.
Yes. The text explicitly states that suppressing human nature actively depletes your heavenly treasure.
It is a radical departure from conventional asceticism.
It flips the entire paradigm. I mean, so much of historical religious dogma is built entirely around the suppression of human nature. Strict vows of celibacy, extreme fasting, rigid behavioral codes that demand you bottle up your natural instincts to prove your devotion.
Right, the idea that suffering equals holiness.
Yes, and this text argues that those practices are actively bankrupting you. If I can offer a visual for the mechanism here, think of the natural flow of universal energy like water running out of a garden hose. Suppressing your human nature is like jamming your thumb over the nozzle. The water doesn't just disappear because you blocked it. The pressure builds, the water becomes turbulent, it creates massive internal friction, and eventually it just ruptures the hose.
That's a perfect analogy.
You aren't achieving holiness by blocking the nozzle, you are just destroying the system from the inside out.
The text views authentic human nature, when it's aligned with truth, kindness, and artistic expression, as a literal divine manifestation. To suppress it is to reject the specific energetic blueprint you were given by the universe.
You're fighting the current rather than swimming in it.
Precisely. The energy required to constantly suppress your own nature drains your heavenly reserves down to nothing.
So we have our deposits and we have our withdrawals. But how do we actually run the numbers? Like, how do you sit down and audit your life to see if you're operating in the black or in the red?
Well, the text acknowledges the inherent difficulty of this. You cannot log into a portal and see a neat row of digits. The method Shufeng provides is one of comparative subtraction.
Comparative subtraction. Okay, how does that work?
You take the 8 ways to accumulate treasures, so praising nature, making art, dispelling fear, and you subtract the 8 ways they can be depleted: destroying nature, harboring jealousy, suppressing yourself.
So you just weigh them against each other.
Yeah. By evaluating the overall trajectory of your actions against these 2 columns, you arrive at an approximate balance.
And the text provides a very grounded scenario to help visualize this balance, right? It asks the reader to imagine visiting a friend's home.
Yes, I love this part. When you show up at a friend's house, the duration of your stay and the warmth of your reception depends entirely on what you've contributed to that relationship in the past.
The love, the support, the shared memories.
Exactly. That is the treasure you have stored with them. If your stored treasure is vast, you're welcomed with open arms and can stay as long as you like.
Spiritual couch surfing. But if your stored treasure is heavily depleted, the dynamic shifts completely. If you've been a constant drain on your friend, if you bring anxiety into their home, complain constantly, offer nothing in return, they might let you in the front door out of basic obligation.
But they are definitely pointing you toward the exit by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, you simply do not have the social capital to stay for the weekend.
That dynamic is the exact mechanism the text applies to spiritual destiny. And it grounds this theory in a real-world application, actually. The text explains that members of a community called Lifechanyuan use this exact ledger to assess if they are ready to enter what they refer to as the second home, or the utopian paradise.
Wait, so it's a literal entry requirement for their concept of paradise?
Yes. If your accumulation is sufficient, if your deposits vastly outweigh your friction and your withdrawals, you are welcomed into this utopian paradise.
And if you're in the red?
If your balance is negative or insufficient, you cannot enter. You must remain where you are, in whatever state of existence that is, and continue doing the arduous work of building your treasures.
But there is a massive catch to this paradise, and it's incredibly strict. Let's say you do the work. You make the art, you calm your friends, you gain entry into the second home.
The moment you enter, the ledger does not disappear. The text is very clear on this point.
So you can't just chill once you get there.
No. If you arrive in paradise and decide to rest on your laurels, if you stop creating, stop helping, and instead begin depleting your past accumulation through sudden bursts of jealousy or by suppressing others, your balance begins to drop.
Oh, man.
And the day you exhaust your accumulated treasures, the very second your balance hits absolute zero, you must leave the utopian paradise.
You face literal eviction from heaven because you can no longer afford the energetic rent.
Precisely. You have exhausted your capital.
But wait, this brings up a profound paradox in the system for me. The text explicitly states that anxiety, fear, and worry deplete your heavenly treasure.
Yes, harboring or creating anxiety is a major withdrawal.
Then doesn't tracking this ledger create the exact anxiety that bankrupts you?
How do you mean?
Well, if I am driving to the grocery store, constantly sweating over the math, thinking, oh no, I honked at that car in traffic, that's minus 10 points, I better go compliment a stranger's shirt to earn plus 10 points, I would be a nervous wreck.
Right, you'd be paralyzed.
Exactly. The sheer paranoia of monitoring every microtransaction of my soul would generate so much internal friction that I'd drain my account just by trying to measure it.
That paradox cuts directly to the core of how this text is meant to be lived, rather than just read. The comparative subtraction is not designed to turn you into a paranoid cosmic accountant.
Okay, then what is the goal?
It is designed to expose your baseline trajectory. If you are constantly sweating the microtransactions, you're operating from a place of fear, which means your consciousness is still restricted. The goal of the framework is authentic transformation.
So it has to be natural.
Exactly. If you genuinely engage with your art, if you organically support the people around you, and if you naturally reject jealousy because you understand how destructive it is, the math takes care of itself. You operate in a state of natural surplus.
Oh, I see.
The anxiety only exists if you view spirituality as a desperate transactional chore rather than an actual shift in how you interact with the universe.
It requires a fundamental change in the blueprint, not just frantically rearranging the lumber. It forces you to look at a Tuesday afternoon through an entirely different lens.
It really does.
A conversation with a coworker isn't just killing time. It's an exchange of universal currency. Picking up an instrument isn't just a hobby. It's a deposit into the infinite.
Strufeng's framework demands that we stop viewing spiritual life as a passive waiting room for the afterlife. It is a dynamic, volatile economy. Every action has weight. Every suppression carries a cost. You are constantly shaping the structure of the universe with the energy you choose to emit.
Which leaves us with a final, slightly uncomfortable wrinkle to chew on as we wrap up today. You, the listener, understand the math now. You know that comforting a friend builds your heavenly account.
Yep.
But consider the paradox of intention. If you only send that comforting text message, or only paint that picture because you secretly want to pad your own cosmic bank account, does the underlying selfishness of your consciousness corrupt the energy?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it?
If the blueprint of your action is entirely self-serving, does the universe still accept the deposit, or does it know you're just farming points? Think deeply about the tree architecture of your actions today. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the blueprint and keep exploring.